name's Tony, and today I'm here to tell you about this book I read called All the Right Places by Jennifer Niven. So this book is about a girl named Violet and a guy named Finch, and they meet at the top of a bell tower one day when they're both considering committing suicide. So Finch ends up talking Violet out of jumping and helps her off of the ledge, and there's all these people below the bell tower watching them, and Violet doesn't want to get a negative image at her school because she's considered the popular girl. So Finch takes the blame and says that he was the one trying to commit suicide and that Violet helped save him. So Finch and Violet end up being in the same U.S. history class. So they get a project called Wander, Indiana, and Finch asks Violet to be his partner. And Violet ends up agreeing to do so. And they end up wandering Indiana together and growing super close and developing this unique type of friendship while bringing themselves to a happy state of mind. So I would rate this book a 5 stars because it is truly heartwarming and it addresses real problems in our world today, such as suicide, which is a very important issue that people face today in our world. So this book is actually based off of the real life of Jennifer Niven. Finch is based off of this boy that she fell in love with when she was young, who was bipolar. And she was able to experience the very high points of his life and the very dangerous low points. And Violet is actually based off of herself because she was very acquainted with loss since most of her family had died. So people from Publishers Weekly actually reviewed this book, and they said, Niven creates a romance so fresh and funny that it could seem like it could save Finch. The journey to, through, and past tragedy is romantic and heartbreaking, as characters and readers confront darkness, joy, and the possibilities and limits of love in the face of mental illness. I completely agree with this review, as Niven makes it seem like Violet made Finch so happy that he's not going to commit suicide. I didn't even expect that he was going to commit suicide until he disappeared one day and Violet couldn't find him. But up until then, I thought that he was actually happy and his life was turned around. Even though this book is very sad and depressing and confronts a lot of issues, it is truly amazing, and I highly suggest that you should read it. Author Jennifer Niven also uses a lot of symbolism in this book. She uses the symbolism of flowers a lot because flowers represent renewal and hope. And Violet's name itself is actually the name of a flower, and she represents the renewal and hope for Finch's life. She brings hope to him, and for a period of time, his life gets a little better with her in it. Finch also brings Violet flowers one day, and she says, Finch, you brought me spring. Finch brought Violet spring, or hope and happiness in life, because before this she was all upset because her sister had died, but Finch actually brought her happiness, and it ended up turning her life around. So this book strongly relates to the real world because it addresses issues such as suicide, depression, bullying, loss, and bipolar disorder. So I'm going to play this little game where I roll a dice, and if it lands on a 1 or a 2, then I am going to discuss suicide. If it lands on a 3, I'm going to discuss depression. If it lands on a 4, I'm going to discuss bullying. If it lands on a 5, I'm going to discuss loss. And if it lands on a 6, I'm going to discuss bipolar disorder. Okay, so this landed on a 6. Okay, so I'm going to talk about bipolar disorder. So through Finch's life, readers can see what it is actually like for someone who just suffers from bipolar disorder. You could see how his life goes up and down and up and down. He's happy one moment, then very sad and depressed the next. His life is like a roller coaster, and this can show readers how to actually handle and treat someone who actually has this disorder. Okay, let me roll again. Okay, so it's a 4. So a 4 means I'm going to talk about bullying. Okay, so bullying, Finch was bullied his whole entire life. Violet was seen as a popular girl, so when he started hanging out with Violet, all of Violet's friends started to bully and threaten him. And this led him to be very upset, and he was bullied his whole life. And this ended up leading him to depression and almost committing suicide. So this novel shows the effect of bullying on people and what it could actually push people to do, commit suicide. And not only was Finch bullied at school, but he was also bullied and abused at home by his father. So this shows readers that bullying can not only happen at school, but could also happen at home. And it can not only be inflicted by friends or just your peers, but could also be inflicted by your own family. Okay, let me roll it again. 6. I already rolled a 6, so number 1. So that is suicide. Finch and Violet both tried to kill themselves at one point in their life, and this whole novel is about them trying to gain their happiness back and bring themselves out of a state of wanting to commit suicide. So it really shows how hard it is to actually bring yourself back to a state of happiness after having suicidal thoughts. Okay, let me roll it again. 6. 5. Okay, so 5, I'm going to talk about loss. Violet lost her sister, and she really wanted to talk about it and confront her problems and actually talk them through with her parents, but her parents always put it aside as if it meant nothing. They didn't really want to talk about it. And this led Violet to wanting to kill herself because she was very upset about her sister's loss. So this teaches readers to actually confront loss, not to set it aside. You need to talk it through with your family and the people that actually matter to you because they went through the same thing that you do, so they're probably feeling similar things that you are. Okay, so a 3. I already did that one. Well, actually, I only have one left. So depression. I haven't talked about depression yet. So Finch and Violet both suffered from depression because of things that happened in their personal lives. And Finch viewed Violet as a perfect girl. He felt that she was insensitive to her sister's death because he didn't really know her that well. Yet Violet was almost about to commit suicide because of how upset she was because of her sister's death. So this shows readers that you can't really judge a person just by how you see them on the outside. Just because they seem fine at school doesn't mean that they're not facing personal problems of their own. And Finch was very depressed just because of his life, and it almost caused him to commit suicide. So this teaches readers that you need to be aware of the feelings and emotions of your friends, because if they're depressed and unhappy, you can most likely see signs of this and prevent them from committing suicide. So I really suggest that you read this book called All the Bright Places. It's amazing. I highly suggest that you check it out.